I'm telling you that you are focusing on Pakistani grooming gangs because probably you're racist. You're racist.
The crimes were predominantly carried out against white girls by British Pakistani men.
One of the most ghastly government cover-ups in history is unravelling. People were publicly shamed for telling the truth.
I know it's probably an unpopular view, but I completely agree that it is, in some areas, largely rape is committed by Muslims. Because, no, I grew up in Bradford, all right? And in that kind of environment, it is mainly Asian men, not because it's something about their culture, but because they're not getting caught. Like, I've had friends who've been raped and the police have told them that because it's an Asian man that's done it, probably not going to catch them. The police are too scared of being called racist to do anything.
I don't know what planet these police are living on. If are they actually saying to people, you know, I'm just going to put the phone down now because it's an Asian person, so don't report it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did, and worse, they literally redacted the fact that the culprits were Pakistani in official files.
I was following through on a children's file and archived Charles in... and found the word Pakistani Tipexed out.
They outright destroyed files. They deliberately didn't record the ethnicity of grooming gang perpetrators in 2/3 of cases. And in areas where accurate figures could be collected, like Rotherham, Pakistanis, who compose less than 4% of the population, were responsible for 62% of child abuse cases. That's a 1,450% overrepresentation. It works out at more than 1 in 16 Pakistani men living in Rotherham being involved in child grooming gangs. What was that again, Emily?
I'm telling you that you are focusing on Pakistani grooming gangs because probably you're racist.
In West Yorkshire, Asians were overrepresented by double and whites were underrepresented by half. I mean, it's not as if the signs weren't there. This conspiracy of concealment went right to the very top. Whitehall officials tried to get Michael Gove to go to court to cover it all up.
Mr. Cummings said officials wanted, and I quote, a total cover-up.
Officials came to me in the Department for Education and said, there's this Times journalist who wants to write this story about these gangs. The local authority wants to judicially review it and stop the Times publishing the story. So I went to Michael Gove and said, this council is trying to actually stop...
What, was it Rotherham?
Yeah. It's trying to stop this, and they're going to use judicial review. You should tell the council that far from siding with the council to stop the Times, you will write to the judge and hand over a whole bunch of documents and actually blow up the council's JR. Gove, to his credit, and various other officials strongly agreed with me. So it's a classic thing in Whitehall, right? Some officials wanted a total cover-up, and we're on the side of the council. In the end, there will be an inquiry. It'll be a total for Whitehall because it'll reveal how much Whitehall worked to try and cover up the whole thing.
The media and leftists took a sham 2020 Home Office report based on false and incomplete data, which didn't even record the ethnicity of perpetrators in 66% of cases, to claim that the majority of grooming gang culprits were white men. This was echoed in Parliament.
White girls who suffered at the hands of white men.
And they were still using this sham data on the BBC as recently as 2 weeks ago.
In 2024, as you can see there, of those suspects where ethnicity is known, just over half are white British.
Wikipedia labelled the entire Pakistani grooming gangs issue a baseless, fabricated moral panic. So why did they cover it all up? Well, we don't have to take a wild guess. It's admitted in the report. Fear of appearing racist, raising community tensions or causing community cohesion problems. In other words, they deliberately ignored or outright covered up the industrial scale abuse of young white working class girls to uphold the sacred myth that diversity's our greatest strength. Leftist media complicity in running defence for the cover-up is reflected in their response to these new revelations. As Ground News' biased coverage shows, leftist outlets like the Huffington Post suggest Labour is to thank for revealing the truth. When they were in power for over a decade while the scandal scandal was happening, while the Metro completely omits the biggest aspect of the outrage, the cover-up of ethnicity data. This is why I've partnered with Ground News for years now. They're the only app and website showing me the full picture on the most important issues. By gathering news from across the political spectrum, then breaking down each source's political lean and financial backing, I can see the world as it is, not as their biases want me to see it. Try it for yourself at ground.news/PJW or scan the QR code on screen. Ground News has helped dissipate all the overwhelming clutter on my social media. So instead of endlessly scrolling, trying to figure out what's important and what's spin, they show me the truth in one clear format. Best part is, Ground News isn't a new tool you have to learn. They're a better version of the doom scrolling you're already doing. One look at their blind spot feed and you'll see how many neutral outlets actually lean left, and why they adopt certain narratives for particular stories. I've never felt more informed and ahead of breaking news. Ground News has truly become an invaluable tool in helping shape my daily news digest. And after reading your comments, I know you'd benefit too. So I got my viewers 40% off the same unlimited access Vantage plan I've been using. Just go to ground.news/PJW or scan the QR code on screen. That's just $5 a month to think for yourself with clarity and context. And since we've all got that one friend who only shares news from the BBC, you can save the debate and send my link instead. Ground News is independently owned and subscriber funded, which means their sole mission is to hold the media accountable. Be part of that fight by going to ground.news/PJW. But despite all these new revelations, some are still clinging on to malevolent denialism.
Yeah. This is the biggest scandal ever this country has ever known.
But
and if we don't have inquiry, we won't all
do you
know.
accept that it isn't just Pakistani men?
In the grooming gangs, it basically is.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Then you, John, haven't been watching the news closely enough.
I have been watching the news. The grooming gangs.
They're not all Pakistani. Plenty of them are white, and plenty of them are women.
Oh, you mean the ones who actually got locked up and not protected by the establishment? Baroness Casey's report devotes a full chapter to denial, and yet they're still in willful denial.
You're racist.
0 tweets from her about it. The same people who helped legitimise the cover-up by pushing phony data have all been noticeably quiet over the last 24 hours. A Home Office report found that the majority of child sexual abuse gangs are made up of white men under the age of 30. All I was doing in the video was stating the literal facts. Wrong.
And there they found the suspects of group-based child sexual offences were disproportionately likely to be Asian men.
The true nightmare of Rotherham is that the motives of those who turned a blind eye, however monstrous the consequences, were indeed noble. Noble how? Noble in the sense that, as the infamous tweet liked by Naz Shah proclaimed, victims should just shut up for the sake of diversity. Same woman, by the way, responded to yesterday's bombshell by waffling on about Islamophobia again.
Those that display selective outrage or fan the flames to blame entire communities.
Labour MP Lucy Powell just a few weeks ago called it a racist dog whistle.
I really saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
Oh,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
And there's this piece of work.
Did a local base review was because the then Home Secretary Amber Rudd and the then local government minister Rishi Sunak refused to provide a statutory inquiry into Telford.
Very same guy signed a letter asking Amber Rudd not to investigate Telford. The media insisting on generically referring to them as Asian grooming gangs is a cowardly obfuscation and a continuation of the cover-up. This after numerous councils tried to brand the term Asian grooming gangs itself as racist. Yeah, they weren't Chinese, Thai or Filipino, were they? They were Pakistanis, let's be honest. But it gets worse. The report found that a significant proportion of live police gang grooming investigations involve suspects who are non-UK nationals and or who are claiming asylum in the UK. In other words, we're literally importing them by the boatload. And don't forget that as recently as a few months ago, those calling for a new investigation were demonised as far-right extremists.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
By the same guy who, when this scandal was going on, was the head of the CPS and should have been prosecuting it all. In some cases, the scale of the scandal was so ghastly. Instead of arresting the actual perpetrators, fathers who tried to rescue their own daughters from grooming gangs were arrested by police.
Jack, your daughter was being abused by gangs and the police were doing nothing. But they did come for you. What happened when you tried to save her from an abuse den?
I was arrested outside, put in police car, taken away.
And they arrested some of the young girls themselves, the victims, accusing them of being child prostitutes. A mother was told she was racist for complaining about it and should be happy her daughter was being taught a different culture. The BBC also called them child prostitutes. And the police targeted whistleblowers for talking about it on TV.
The scale of police, council and social services failings. I went back home, I went back to Telford, and the next day around lunchtime, 2 police officers banged on my door demanding that I speak to them about my interview.
Really? So the police who have done nothing for the entire third millennium to date suddenly were roused to activity by you going on television.
Yeah, they told me that they had gone round to all of the addresses they had on file for me. They had gone to my previous home addresses, the different accommodations that I'd stayed at looking for me, and eventually they located me, you know, they hunted me down, they tracked me, banged on my door, you know, not too different to when they're knocking on the door of a perpetrator.
Just as with the Manchester Arena bomber, who wasn't stopped because security guards feared they'd be called racist. Concerns about racism facilitated one of the biggest examples of the industrial level abuse of children in world history, and then facilitated the cover-up of that atrocity in the aftermath. I guess if anything, this finally puts to bed the insipid mantra that political correctness is just being nice to people. If you value what I do and you want to help support me, please visit pauljosephwatson.locals.com and either pledge a one-time donation or subscribe to join my community, get early access videos and message me directly. And exclusive live streams coming soon too. Promise. Check out the Locals link down in the description. And don't forget to take a look at the brand new website modernity.news. That's where you'll find all my content, including exclusive articles. That's modernity.news.